All right, hello and welcome to another edition of Michael Grubbs Makes Things. I'm Michael Grubbs. This is my weekly YouTube update where I talk about what was on my calendar for last week and what's happening in the week to come. Last week was really fun because I got to play a show here in New York, my hometown, at Rockwood Music Hall, which has always been kind of like a home base for me in New York. It was a really fun show because actually the day before the show I listened to the new Frank Ocean album. And there's a track on there that's just a voicemail from his mom, basically, and she just repeats over and over. The gist of it is she says, you have to be yourself. You can't be you trying to act like someone else. You have to do what you want to do. And for some reason it really spoke to me, really connected to me. So my idea for that show was I was only going to play stuff that I really wanted to play. And I did. I showed up and I told the audience that the show was going to be kind of all about me in a way, because I was going to play things that I was into, and it ended up being a really fun night for everyone. I still played Light Outside and Wore a Sweater and Dance So Good and all the songs that are kind of classics, because believe it or not, after all these years, I still really enjoy playing those songs. But that was a fun show. Afterward, I got to meet a bunch of the fans. I got to sign some stuff. I posted on Instagram and also on Twitter a picture of some koozies that I signed for some One Tree Hill fans. It's funny, people I think are hesitant to mention One Tree Hill to me at shows sometimes, which is, I totally get it, I understand, but I understand the impulse to mention it as well. It was a huge part of my life, and I always enjoy talking about it. So if you're ever at a show and you have a question, if you want to ask me something, don't be shy. If you have something from the show that you want me to sign, I'm happy to do it. Let's see, so speaking of One Tree Hill, November 12th, we have the Icon Convention in Chicago, which I'm pretty excited about. That's one of the big things that's kind of on the horizon, both for Wakey Wakey and for One Tree Hill, which are two huge parts of my life. So I'm excited to see that all come together in November. And we're excited, we just announced that right after that, November 14th, I'm going to Montreal. And I'm playing a show at Petite Campus. I haven't gotten to go back to Montreal in a while, and it's a big Wakey Wakey city. It's one of my favorite ones to visit. So I'm excited to see our fans there. Of course, we'll put links for all this stuff below. Beyond that, with the band, the next kind of big thing that I have going on is we're working on a covers album right now. It's going to be pretty short, just a little nugget. It's going to have Lean On, which I think is actually one of the videos that you can click on below, which is the cover of the Major Lazer featuring Mo that we did. I'm going to add a couple other things to that one that I did with Casey Shea, which is really exciting. So you can look for that in the near future. As far as the other stuff in my life, I'm working with some artists still. Olivia Millerschin, who I've mentioned a couple times. Chris Cubetta and I produced her album, and she has a couple of release parties coming up. October 2nd, she's playing at the Arc in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which I think is pretty cool. On October 21st at the Bird and Bread in Birmingham, Michigan. I'll put links for those below as well. The other primary band that we're working with right now is this band called the Nectars that I'm super excited about. We are setting up a showcase for them in Brooklyn right now, and as soon as we have it, I will be sure to announce it on here because I'm really excited to share that band with everyone. Besides that, this week and next week, a lot of it is about administrative stuff for me. One thing that's really sucks about being an artist and musician kind of on the level that I'm at is that you have to do a lot of the kind of paperwork aspects of things yourself, and believe it or not, there's a ton of stuff. So right now it's a lot of administrative things that I'm filling out. It's kind of boring, so instead of talking about that, I'm going to answer some of the questions that we got from last week. Because we got some fun ones. A couple from someone named Finney asked what my favorite bands and albums are, which is a great question. It's one that you get a lot in interviews, but you never really have time to explain it. So I'm happy to have this kind of format to talk about it in. Music for me, just like for a lot of people, is kind of divvied up into categories. There's music that I really like because of the lyrics. There's music I really like because of the way that it makes me feel. There's music I really like because of the melodies or because of how innovative it is, where it sits in the musical landscape. So I feel like for me to actually answer that question properly, I'm going to have to do a series of videos on it. So Finney, I think you've inspired our first video series. So over the next few months, you can look for my favorite songs that are all about lyrics, my favorite songs that are all about vibe, and all kinds of different stuff like that. So that's coming up. Finney, you mentioned that you really like the Frightened Rabbit. You like the band Frightened Rabbit, which their album Midnight Organ Fight, which you also mentioned, is was a huge one for me when I was recording the album. Almost Everything I Wish I Said the Last Time I Saw You. I remember listening to Poke just over and over and over again, and thinking, how can I write a song that's this good? I've always been a big fan of that band. They have new music out right now that's pretty exciting too. Finney, you asked if I buy CDs or if I buy music online. And the way that I interact with music, it's all kinds of different things. I do still buy CDs. My favorite way to buy music is directly from bands at shows. I don't actually have a CD player here at my house anymore, so if I buy something from a band, it really is me trying to show a direct show of support to them, and to kind of invest in them as a member of their fan base, and to show them some love. I do have a record player, so that's one way that I like to listen to stuff that I get from bands. I do buy albums digitally through iTunes sometimes. If there's something I really like and I know I'm not going to get to meet that person, that's my way of kind of contributing toward them. And other than that, even if I own an album, I tend to stream it, because I know that that's a way that the band will get paid no matter what. So, for instance, if I buy the new Frightened Rabbit album, then that band gets paid, and if I always listen to that recording of it, then that band has already been paid for that, and that's it. But if I buy their album and then I listen to it on Spotify, the band can get paid over and over and over for a long time. So that's the way that I kind of deal with buying music online. Alvin mentioned the band Survive, that I guess you would just say Survive. It's got spaces between each letter, but they did the soundtrack for the show Stranger Things, which was I don't know if I've talked about it on here or not, but it was one of my all-time favorite shows, definitely my favorite of this year so far, for a number of reasons. One, the soundtrack is amazing. I've mentioned Survive actually in a few different music sessions that I've been in. It's just like, hey, this is a really great, authentic use of synthesizers. I think they're really great at that. I've read some pretty cool articles on them as well. So Alvin, yes, Survive is definitely on my radar. I'm super into them. The other thing I was excited about in that show was that Winona Ryder was back. My wife is sitting over in the corner as I talk about this right now, but I think she won't even be jealous to know that I've had a crush on Winona Ryder probably my entire life from childhood, and she says she has too. So that's just the way it is. How can you not love Winona Ryder? And she was so amazing as the kind of super worked up mom figure. She was great. Let's see. So then I've got two more questions here. One from Ashley. She just mentioned that she really likes the songs Cokehead and Honey Covered Hands, which I love because those are such deep cuts. Cokehead, I've always really loved that song. I don't play it out a lot. I don't really know why. I think that it's just so it's so buried in the catalog. It may be something I need to bring back. Honey Covered Hand gets a lot of love, and the reason is because I toured a lot with Casey Shea, and that's one of his all-time favorite Wakey Wakey songs because he was hanging out with me during the time period when I wrote it a lot. So he always asked me to play it whenever we play a show together. So I get to play Honey Covered Hands a lot, and again, I love that song as well. I actually worked that into the set at Rockwood. So actually, I hope you were there and you got to see it. Lastly, Jasmine asks, am I still learning German? And the only thing I can really say is, yeah and nein. I mean, I don't know. It's it's definitely in my head. I've met some Germans the other day, and I initially was like, I'm totally going to speak German to these people, and it didn't happen because I'm super rusty because I haven't touched it in a while. But hopefully we'll get some more German shows happening soon, and that'll be my excuse to pick it back up. But in the meantime, guys, thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Michael Grubbs Makes Things. And if you have any questions for me, I'll try and answer as many as I can. Put them in the links below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And check out all the things I talked about. I'll have links for everything below. Thanks a lot, and thanks for tuning into Michael Grubbs Makes Things. I'll see you guys next week around 2 o'clock.